Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Day of the Dead, the 2008 remake of the classic Romero film. And I gotta tell you, at the end of the day, I think this movie frickin' sucks. I think this is a terrible movie, very, very poorly executed. There are so many elements of it that I find infuriating. I think that there's only really one character that I find at all interesting. I thought the movie was written poorly. I had a couple of interesting ideas, or not even a couple, really just the one, but which trounced all over it and ruined it very, very quickly thereafter. I think this movie is just bad film, and one of the major ways in which it's bad is this movie's cast sucks. Mina Suvari plays the lead character, and I thought that was cool that they went back to the thing that Romero has done in so many of his movies where he has a female lead, and I thought that was awesome. Unfortunately, I think Mina Suvari is just absolutely terrible in this movie, and she is not an actress of a caliber that I think should be the lead in a film unless it's written specifically for her and just fits her to like a glove, because I do not think that she has that kind of charisma or the acting skills. I feel like she is a decent performer in certain films. Like I thought she worked really well in American Beauty, but a large portion of the reason why she did was because her character was somebody who was putting up a front and wasn't really real, and there was only really one moment where she dropped all artifice, and throughout the rest of the film she is just putting up this character, and but at the same time not that you're supposed to as an audience not buy into it. So the fact that you can't buy into her as an actor worked for that role, which is an example of what I'm talking about, where a role needs to fit her like a glove. And she was okay in American Pie, I guess, but overall I do not think she's a talented actress, and I thought she was really, really bad in this movie. It just was not able to create a compelling character or somebody that I invested in any way, shape, or form. It just was no good. And then you have Nick Cannon in this film, who again, just, not a great actor. He's not as horrendous as she is, but he's just a nothing character, somebody who I did not buy into at all either. I mean, he's, like I said, he's not horrendous. At least there is a little bit more of a not a comedic tone, but there's a little bit more lightness to him, and obviously there's a lot of darkness because this is a zombie movie as well. But he's not all like through the entire film like Mina Suvari is. So that works a little bit better. And Annalyn McCord is in this movie as well, which she's best known as being one of the actors from the show 90210, and again, she's just not good. I mean, I don't know what to say about most of these characters. I mean, they're just awful characters, just uninteresting, unintelligible. Their stories are just useless. The arcs are completely missing. I mean, they just did not know how to write characters in this movie. I'd say the only one that I was at all interested in, and he's definitely a supporting character at most. I mean, he's not in this movie very much at all. This Big Rain shows up, and I mean, I think the only reason why I find his character interesting at all is because, I mean, the guy just has a ton of charisma on the screen. I mean, he always comes off like a complete badass, but also a guy that you could follow, and just good actor. I mean, and he plays a role in this that I feel like he could have walk through. I mean, he's the military man with it's gruff and all that, and I mean, wasn't a stretch for him in any way, shape, or form, but I thought he was decent. I mean, overall, the problems with this movie beyond just the characters are also some of the attention to detail and the way it's written and the way it's executed. I think, like for instance, there's this sequence early on I thought maybe this movie was going to be good, because there's this sequence where they're going through this house, and they enter a room, and there's a guy in there, and he's become a zombie, and they know that at the beginning of when he first entered that house, he was entered that room, I should say, he was not a zombie. So they're like, how could he possibly have become a zombie? And then they realize there's a fly in the room, and the idea is because a fly went and sucked the blood of a zombie and then sucked the blood of that person, it made it so there was a little bit of that zombie blood got into him, and he became a zombie. And I was like, huh, I mean, you know, it's pretty ridiculous. The amount that would have gotten into his bloodstream, if any, would have been like just infinitely too small. But at the same time, I can get behind that a little bit. I think it's an interesting idea, and even if it's not necessarily overly believable, if you kind of just extrapolate on it, and the idea that any character in this film could just get infected at any moment because they didn't notice that there was a fly around them, and then, I thought that was interesting. And then they just kind of spit all over it, where there's sequences later in this film where people, there's somebody gets bitten and they chop the arm off and the guy is perfectly fine. Well, what? No, the blood would have circulated around in him much quicker than that. And I can take that in shows like the Walking Dead, for instance, because they haven't set it up where just the tiniest amount of that getting into your bloodstream would make you a zombie. Whereas in this, they absolutely have. And just because you cut off the guy's arm, that's not gonna work. And that is ridiculous. And there's so many moments in this movie too where the attention to detail just absolutely lacking. I mean, there's a moment late in the film where a person is fighting off a zombie and he crushes the zombie's head and blood splatters all over the place. And the problem is the take they use, you can see the blood goes into his mouth. You can see it on his tongue briefly. The guy clearly swallows, and while I was watching the sequence, I'm like, oh damn, that guy's gonna turn into a zombie. Nope. They clearly just didn't have a take where he didn't go into his mouth, or they chose that take because they didn't have the attention to detail to realize that had happened. Either way, I find that to be fairly unforgivable. And I mean, just the writing across the board of this movie is just absolutely by the numbers. It's a very tedious film, boring, just crap, just absolute crap. I hate this movie. I thought it was god awful. So those are my thoughts on the 2008 remake of Day of the Dead. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, if you enjoyed it, if you think I'm being too hard on it, if you hated it like I did, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check this video out and let me know what they think, which would be awesome because I love talking to people about films. And speaking of which, if you are new here and you just haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you can find out when I put out a new video and you can come and let me know what you think and join the conversation, which is something I would absolutely adore. Beside all that, though, have yourself a good day.